very good evening to all my wonderful parents and dear, dear little children. Welcome to day 8 of this entire festival. As the curtains fall on the first edition of the Get Set Parent Children's Literature, Art and Music Festival with Vishwarang, I can't help but go back in time to 2 months ago when we first conceptualized this entire show of 8 days. You know, we are a parenting channel, but we realized, what are parents without their children? We kept wondering, what can we do for children who've been locked in at home all the way since March? What better than to bring the world to their screens and put forth the best in literature, art, and music? I'm so incredibly thankful to all the wonderful authors, artists, musicians, resource persons, and others who came together and saw our vision to do something as spectacular as what you have been witnessing over the last 8 days. A big, big thank you also to all our wonderful partner collaborators who helped us reach out to children across the country. Did you know this festival is being witnessed across 20 countries as a part of the very, very large Vishwarang International Festival as well? It takes a very large team to organize something as vast as this. I couldn't have done this without the support of my excellent team behind the brand of Get Set Parent with Pallavi. We have designers, we have editors, we have cameramen, we have digital experts, research consultants, and so many people who helped me in putting together this entire canvas. And finally, what would I do without the immense love and support that I got from all of you, my wonderful audience? You have been tuning in every day and witnessing 21 amazing sessions and spreading the word around. What more could I ask for? We at the Get Set Parent and Vishwarang team promise to be back next year with the second edition, bigger, better, more spectacular than the one that you have just witnessed. But, the festival is not yet over. We have the cherry on the cake waiting just for you. Today we're going to witness 3 fantastic sessions, right? We have the wonderful Mrs. Rohini Nilekani, who's going to enthrall us with a story reading of her latest book, and we're going to get into a very, very nice chat with her. We have the prolific Anand Neelakantan, who has churned out super hits like Bahubali, Asura, and whatnot. We're going to talk to him, and he's going to, do some really fun activities with our children. And finally, we have the mesmerizing Shillong Chamber Choir to put a musical end note to this entire festival. So stay tuned, don't go anywhere. Today you want to see all 3 sessions, but before we get into our first session, you know what to do. Press the bell icon to stay subscribed and follow me and all the wonderful things I have lined up for you, even post this festival. Also follow me on Instagram and Facebook to stay tuned with everything that I do. So what are we waiting for? Let's jump right into today's sessions. So kids and parents, today we're going to talk to one of the foremost authorities on the Ramayana that we have in India today, Mr. Anand Neelakantan. Anand is one of the most celebrated authors, columnists, screenplay writers, television personalities, and motivational speakers that we have in India. He has authored over 7 cult-creating books like the Bahubali series, Asura, Ajaya, and so much more. He's the man behind the screenplay of popular shows on television like Siya Ke Ram, Chakravartin Ashok Samrat, and Mahabali Hanuman. In September 2020, he made his debut with children's literature. He launched his really fun book called The Very Extremely Most Naughty Asura Tales for Children. This book promises to be a treat for all our young readers. So today, let's get into a very interesting discussion with him on how he's been writing all of these super hit series and how did he think of the whole Bahubali series. It seems unimaginable, doesn't it? And he's also going to read out excerpts from his latest kids book to all of you. So let's jump right into this discussion with the prolific Mr. Anand Neelakantan. Hi kids, welcome to the grand finale of the Get Set Parent Children's Literature, Art and Music Festival. And I'm super excited. Who do we have with us here? The one and only Mr. Anand Neelakantan. Anand, so happy to have you. Welcome to the grand finale of the 8-day festival, which was inaugurated by Mr. Ruskin Bond, and you are doing the closing act for us today.
Thank you so much. Anand might be my name, but I am Asura, and I am seeing lots of Asuras here. So we are going to have fun.
Yes, we have wonderful children here. They're excited. So before I get into a discussion with you, and I'm going to pick your brain on how you write so much and what you do, the children are all yours for the next half an hour. We're going to do some fun activities, and I'm so excited. I want to listen to a few excerpts from your new book, The Very Naughty, Mischievous Asura Tales for Kids.
Yeah. So let us start. Before starting, I thought I will play one small video about this book, a 1-minute video. Can I?
Yes, sir.
Hi. So that was just an introduction about what you have. If you have not read the book, these are the characters in it. A few glimpses of it. I just put it as a video. Now I want to ask you a question. I don't want you to sleep off while we are talking. So let us start. It's a small quiz kind of thing. And who are Asuras? Can you tell me who are Asuras? Otherwise, name one Asura. Yeah? Yeah, Kira?
You can unmute yourself. You can unmute yourself and answer.
Demons.
Asuras are demons? Okay, next one. I'll tell you. Next one.
Asuras are demons like Ravan and Mahisasur, and demons who used to be in history.
Okay, good. Asuras, actually, do you know that Asuras and Devas are brothers? They share the same father. Mothers are different. But all in our Puranas, in our mythology, Asuras, Devas, they are all brothers. Their father is same. The entire race, they are same. There are others also like Kinnara, Gandharva. There are a lot of other supernatural beings in our Purana. So it's a very, how many of you read Harry Potter? How many of you have read Harry Potter? Okay, so you would be familiar with lots of ghosts and other things which happen to be in Europe or in the West. We read about that. Do you know that in India also we have got many kind of ghosts? Can you name certain kind of ghosts, goblins and other things in India? The various supernatural creatures apart from Asuras? It's a great fantasy world. Can anyone name? Have you heard about Booth?
Vetal.
Yeah, correct. Very good. Vedal is there. Buddha, Preda, Pishacha. There are lots of this kind of creatures. So when I was a boy of 8 or 9, where I lived, that place had a lot of ghosts. That's what
Wow.
the elders told me, and I believed it. Nowadays, you may not believe all these things because you live in cities. Where I lived in Kerala. I grew up in Kerala. It had lots of temples, forests, jungle, backwaters, rivers, and every tree had a ghost, one kind of ghost or other. There were a lot of funny ghosts. There was one creature called Kutti Chatan, or the small Chatan, what they call, no, small Satan, Kutti Chatan. It's like a, in Harry Potter, you find that, no, it's what do you call the, or Lord of the Rings, you would have seen Gollum. It's a kind of creature like that. So they used to live in the attic. They used to live in the attic. It was all tiled houses. So they used to live in the attic and have lots of mischiefs. Or this is what the belief was. There were Brahmarakshas, Raktarakshas, very dangerous kinds of ghosts living on trees. And there was this creature called Ekshi, which was a seductress ghost. They were very beautiful, and on moonlit night they used to stand on near the river or on the path, forest path, and ask for pan, betel leaf from people. And if you give it, you can give it. So there was one trick to it. If you give it, those days people used to carry betel leaf and pan and other things in a box. The moment you give it, they will grab you and eat you up. This was the belief. You have seen the films 3? How many of you had seen the films 3? You have not seen that Hindi film? Okay, Pranav had seen it.
Yes, I've seen it.
Yeah. So it was something similar to that. A beautiful woman will be there, but she is a ghost. She is a vampire kind of thing who eats to eat up. So
Yes.
what they do is, these are all, actually they don't exist. Don't get scared or anything. These are all fun imagination of things. And if you give them this betel leaf, they'll grab your hand and take you. And they used to live in a tree, and the tree had a palace. Okay, at the treetop is a palace, and they don't live in all
Excuse me,
trees.
sir.
Yeah.
Banyan trees and people trees also have ghosts.
Yeah, correct. Banyan trees have Brahmarakshas, the ghost called Brahmarakshas.
Yes.
This is like the Indian devil tree or Saptabarni. I don't know what you call in Hindi. Saptabarni is there, no? Pala, what we call Saptabarni. I don't know. You might have seen it. It has a white flower. It's a very
Yes.
fragrant flower. That is where these Ekshis live. That and banyan trees and the palm trees. So in the daytime, they will look like palm trees. In the night, they turn into palace. There, where this kind of Ekshis will be there, they will take you there and eat you up. This is the belief. So there are lots of tales based on that, which I will be coming up soon with lot of ghosts. Yeah, Adya, you want to say something? Or somebody is making sound, the sound, heavy sound of breathing. Tavanit, you wanted to say something?
Yes, sir. So you've told so many things. So do you believe in them?
Now I don't believe in them because I have grown up. But as a kid, I used to believe in them. And not only that, now there is a lot of current, lot of light, and I live in an apartment in Mumbai, so I don't believe in them. But even now, when I go to my village, when it is dark, if I am walking, since I have a good imagination, I get scared. Even now, I get scared, especially on.
Anand sir,
Huh?
can we hear a few scary and few funny pieces from the new storybook?
So, the asuras in my book, they are all naughty, mischievous, and full of pranks. The book, if you have read the book, they are full of pranks. These are the some points you should know about asuras before reading the story. They are naughty like any of you. And if you are not naughty, if you are good children, please go and become more naughty. This is my request. Because this is the time to be naughty. Your parents will scream, shout, and all. Don't worry about that. Be naughty. My books are meant to make you all naughty. You're all asuras. This is the time to enjoy life. So be as naughty as possible. You study, you do whatever you want, you do all those things, whatever your parents say. But have fun in life. Be naughty. Be a prankster. It's fun. then only your imagination will grow. So more naughtier you are, the better you are. If you are not naughty, if your younger brother, younger sister is naughty, join them. Yeah. Asuras are actually intelligent and smart, like any of you. They are intelligent and smart, and they love to learn more. Learning doesn't mean learning only the textbooks. Everything is there to learn. Learn from everything. Learn from nature. Learn from crows. Have you observed crows? Crow. How many of you watch crows or mynas? You know they believe that crows are our ancestors. The crows, the ravens, the crows are our ancestors as per our Indian belief. They bring messages from the world of dead. They are your dead, the great-great-grandparents and other things. That is why they feed the crows as per our custom. The crows are the one which they take our messages and they come back from another world is the belief. The belief is that crows never die. Have you ever seen a dead crow? Unless it's an accident, it is by what you call, actually crows do die scientifically. But this is a belief, this is a fun story I'm telling. Crows don't die and die unless they are killed by altercated or accident or some other eagle or something kills them. Through old age, they don't die because they come from another world, is the belief. Isn't it fun to believe like that? Have you observed crows? They communicate, they are intelligent beings. So learn from all these things. Tomorrow observe crows. There will be crows. Take some rice or wheat or whatever it is, put it in your compound and wait for crows to come and see what all pranks they do. They are as much fun to watch as puppies are or kittens are. The naughty Deva, that is Indra's son. Indra is the king of Devas. Indra's son Jayanta, he had come, he had seen Sita Devi and he had come in the face of, in the form of a crow and had come and peeped in. When Ram and Sita were talking, he peeped in and he started disturbing, caw, caw, caw. He started making noise and started disturbing Sita Devi. So Ram had taken Ramji had taken a, what do you call, a grass and threw at the crow and it hit one of its eyes. So the belief is that crow can see only through one eye. So you can see the crow looking like this, then looking like this. At the same time, we cannot see through both the eyes is the belief. Actually, they can see, yeah. But this is the belief as per the story. It look like this, then look like this. So tomorrow when you see crow, look at that. Why they are looking like that. Asuras have special skills like musicians and warriors. They are smart and kingly and they can disguise themselves. They are shapeshifters. You heard the stories of shapeshifters? They can assume different forms. Like sometimes they come as kittens, sometimes they can come as dog. These are the creatures from the other world. They could be an asura. They could be a Buddha, a Pishacha. You don't know. There is another world out there. There is a belief in our village, in our parts, that there is a creature called, there is a tribe called Odian. They are called Odians. And they can take any form they want. They have a, what do you call, they use some herbs and put it in inside their ear and they change the shape. So they can become kittens, they can become tiger. So they go and hunt as tigers. This is the belief. They can be elephants, they can be mosquito, they can be fly on the wall. But to come back, somebody will have to help them. Somebody will have to take it out from their ears. Whatever that herb, that paste, ball they have put. So there are many of them who are not able to come back to human form because there is nobody to take it out. They forgot to come, so they are still roaming around. They were humans once, they are roaming around as a different creature is one story, another fantastic story. So this is about Bhasmasura and his pig Nakura, his pet pig Nakura. So the Bhasmasura, what he did was, he's a clumsy Asura. Whatever he touched, it used to break. So everybody used to make, and he's quite naughty also, he's quite mischievous also. So every time his parents used to shout at him because if he tries to take something, any of you are clumsy here? And his pet pig Nakura will imitate whatever he does. And when he grew up, Bhasmasura was not getting any woman to agree to marry him. Why? Because his reputation was that he's a clumsy guy. Then what he did, like all asuras, he went to do a tapasya. Tapasya, penance. They will stand on one leg, they will hang like bats, and for many years, yeah, they will stand on one leg, they will put fire all around and stand at the middle of the fire. They do all kind of things and torture themselves so that the God will be pleased with them. And Lord Shiva, being Lord Shiva, he gets pleased very fast. So he came and gave Bhasmasura, asked Bhasmasura what boon you want. So Lord Shiva's pet snake, Vasuki warned him. This is an asura. He will be mischievous. He's naughty. But the God said, no, since he has asked for something, I have to give it. So he asked Bhasmasura, what do you want? And Bhasmasura said, everybody makes fun of me because I'm clumsy. So I want to teach everyone a lesson. Whatever I touch shall burn. So you have heard about Midastat. In Greek mythology, whatever you touch, it becomes gold. But we have a similar asura. Instead of making into gold, whatever it touches, it burns. This is the boon. It's a stupid boon if you really see. Because how will he brush his teeth? How will he eat food? He has not thought about it. But the moment he got it, he feels he is so powerful.
So kids, thank you so much. Thank you, sir. Kids, you can all give Mr. Anand a big hand and thank him.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Be good as
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Okay, so I'm going to start with my questions. Are you ready, sir? We'll start?
Yeah.
All right. First question I had was, where did the love for mythology come in? Was it a single point that triggered this love for mythology in you? Where did it come from?
It is something which I grew up with. It's not that I decided, okay, I'll write mythology. I always wanted to write because, as I said, what I told to the kids, similarly, there are so many temples in our place called Tripunithura, that is Cochin Royal Kingdom's capital it was. That's where
So your mic, if you can just readjust the mic once.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cochin Royal Kingdom's capital it was, Tripunithura. So there are around 100 temples there. And every temple in Kerala, if you see, every temple have temple festival. And still all the traditional art forms are performed. Mostly.
Okay.
Like Kathakali and Ottantullal and this kind of traditional art forms are there. All these things, and there are lots of traveling storytellers also come. So this is something which I grew up with, and these are all based on Hindu Purana stories. So being born from that and being born in such a rich culture, it came naturally to me. So
were you writing small stories even in school on mythology?
Yes.
Oh, interesting. Okay, and so one of the your core aspects you're known for is kind of taking the voice of the antagonist, right? And typically, we've all grown up with only one version, and a typical binary black and white, good, bad, good over evil, and the hero and versus the villain kind of renditions of the stories that most of us as children have grown up. So how did you come into taking the other voices, and what's the perspective behind that?
See, actually, the good versus evil angle, I think it is a what you call the Gangetic plane or the North Indian phenomena.
Okay.
Peninsular India, especially Kerala and all, there has always been tales from all sides. Like there are temples for Ravan, there are temples for Duryodhan. So my Ajaya series started from a huge temple. You can Google it and see the Peruvadi Malanada temple is for Duryodhan. And Shaguni, there are temples for Shaguni, there are temples for Ashwatthama. There in Himachal also, I think, the Duryodhan temple. But in the south, it is very more prevalent because perhaps the tradition of good versus evil is a contribution of, I think, the contact with other civilizations.
Okay. Okay.
Because in Hinduism there is no concept of good or bad. It's always about dharma and adharma, which is not good or bad.
Okay.
It is more about karma and karma bala. That is, whatever you do, there is a fruit of action for it. That is karma bala, and you will have to eat it. Good karma, good action, bad karma. So there is no permanent good or bad character. The
Right.
very nature that Rama is the epitome of good, Ravana is epitome of bad, is a medieval construct.
Yeah.
Otherwise, if you
Because
go back to Purana, how it is, it's a
yeah.
play.
Yeah.
Ravana is none other than the Jaya, the bodyguard of Vishnu. Gets cursed and he comes as Ravan. Vijaya is Kumbhakarna. They before that they come as Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu. After that they come as Kamsa and Shishupala, or in some
Okay.
versions Dandavakra. So it is like, and why they come? To teach about karma and karma bala to people. So it is never, Hinduism is never about binary. Binary is a very, what you call Islamic, Judaic, Christian, or even Marxist concept. Where it is, I'm not saying it's right or wrong, and conceptually and telling. So it all works on duality, like God versus Satan, heaven versus hell, sin versus redemption. From there, so even the Hollywood storytelling, which is also based on this culture, or the comic book, they all work on this, that good versus bad. There is nothing much of gray. Whereas
Yeah.
imagine how we have been telling stories before we got in contact with that. So in South, there was hardly any invasion. In Kerala or Tamil Nadu was never part of any Mughal empire or any other empire.
Right.
So it
Right.
has its own advantage, disadvantage, everything will be there, like any other thing. But one good thing was it retained the typical Indian way of thinking, where all sides are accepted. There is no absolute good or bad. So in Dasara, we don't lynch Ravan. We don't have even Dasara.
Ah,
We
really?
don't burn Ravan. That is a very
Ravan Dahan, yeah.
Ravan
Got it.
Dahan is not there. For us, it is Saraswati Puja actually. The Dasara. It has got nothing to do with Ravan.
Right, right.
So
Sir,
because
you've also spoken about how time plays a very important role in, what we perceive as good or bad. For example, it could be that a certain act of Ram by itself is an act of violence. Even killing Ravan or killing Vali or any of these. But when you kind of zoom out, the perspective changes, and over time, it looks different.
not only our time, even at that given point of time, if you look it from another angle, that is why this doesn't, why this confusion is coming is because we are using a lens which was not made for our kind of, these stories were all came before we got into contact with this form of storytelling, like good
Yeah.
versus bad kind of storytelling.
Yeah.
That is why
Yeah.
these are not fitting properly and there is a lot of confusion. That is why we are forced to give
Choose sides.
convoluted explanation on why Ram had to hide and kill Bali, whether it is right or wrong. Ram did wrong, Ram did right. No, he's an animal. All kind of debates are medieval debates actually. In Valmiki Ramayana, it's very clear. He had to do it. That was his karma. He had to do it. He did it. He gives his explanation. Bali asks his question. So, and Rama gives his answer. But there is no claim that that is the right answer. It's just two perspective Valmiki presents. And is there a reaction for that? Yes, there is. That is the crux of it. The Bali comes as Jara in the next avatar and kills Krishna.
Oh.
The same way how Rama had killed. So that is the crux of it, karma and karma bala. So Ram abandoned Sita. Nowadays, we have a big debate on it. What Ram did is wrong, this thing. Why? Because we are using this lens which we have inherited during British rule, Islamic rule and all. And I'm not saying it is right or wrong, but that's a different lens, no, which way you are looking at it. And so then there is only absolute. Either he has to be right or he has to be wrong. There is no in between. But if you go back before, if you remove this lens and see, what happens is Rama does an action thinking that that is right. Rama is not God here. Rama is the avatar of God. He has come as
In a human form, yeah.
all the flaws of human.
Yeah.
The God concept is itself is different. When Rama is an avatar, he is not Vishnu. He is the avatar of Vishnu. We need not make him do everything right or give convoluted explanation which what Valmiki didn't give or Vyasa didn't give. They just state this is it because if he has done something wrong, it is because he's a human. He has flaws. What is wrong in accepting that? Valmiki shows the flaws.
Yes.
Only when
Yes.
it comes to Bhakti era that he becomes perfect. But that was never the this thing of Valmiki Ramayana itself.
Hmm.
It's about both Ravan and Ram has fault, but in comparison, Rama does better. That's all.
Yes. Yes.
It is nothing like Ravan is totally dark and Ram is totally perfect.
Yeah.
There is never the claim.
And I think Indian mythology allows for those shades of personalities and the various moods, and it allows for so much. I mean, there is so much of a canvas it allows. It's not extreme.
Jain Ramayan, Ravan is going to be the next Tirthankara.
Sure. Okay. Okay.
That's the kind of acceptance you are talking about.
Yeah. So
Rama,
Anand sir, this is a question on behalf of all my audience. I have to ask. Your research in all of these texts, whether it's the Ramayana or Mahabharata, and even the characters and their entire, the entire backstory. I wanted to ask you, what is your process of research? How do you get all of this information, and how do you judge? For example, I read somewhere there are a few thousand versions of the Ramayana itself. How do you kind of pick which version to go by, and what's your research process?
see, there is, these are the tales which evolved over years. There are so many versions and counter versions. Why? There was no central church or central authority in India. Where, human nature is what? To tell the story in different ways. So it's like a Chinese whisper, keeps on. So this is Indian whisper, because Indian whisper is better than Chinese whisper because we exaggerate also. We exaggerate and add up many things and tell opposite also. It's a grand Indian whisper, all these stories are. Nobody knows what is right because there is no authentic copy of Valmiki Ramayana. What they call authentic itself is 7-8 versions.
Yeah.
The Mahabharata, it's much bigger mess. Mess in the sense not as a book I'm telling. Even the Bori, this thing, they had taken only from 8 languages. The Bori Bhandarkar Oriental Research Institute, they took 50 years to compile, and they are not even covered 10% of what is available. And that is the most authentic one. So there is no, and even whatever they called as authentic, they removed many things to suit the Victorian era morality from which they were just coming out in the early 19th century.
Okay.
So they had taken out many things because they didn't like what it is. And they said, no, it cannot be there. But who are they to say it cannot be there? Because there are so many other versions available. And only 8 languages they had taken. India has 300, 400 languages, around 3,000 dialects. Each has its own Ramayana and Mahabharata. There are Ramayans where...
Mind-boggling.
There are Ramayana where characters are Muslims. There are Ramayans where characters are Christians.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
It is there.
Okay.
And Ramayana may have originated in India, but it is a pan-world literature. There are stories from up to Philippines or Japan, and all of them have their own
Southeast Asia has a lot of characters.
Russia, Kazakhstan, they have their own versions of Ramayana. In Arabia, they have versions of Ramayana. Indonesia has its own version of Ramayana and Mahabharata.
Yeah.
And in some of the Far East Ramayans, Hanuman is not a Brahmachari, which will be a shock for us. Hanuman has multiple wives in some of the Ramayana.
Really?
So these are all kind of versions have been done because there was no central authority. And that is what makes it so fascinating. And I think 90% of it is not written down even now. Even now they exist in folk form, oral tales. And the problem with the oral tales is they keep evolving. So there is no such authentic version. It's a good thing actually.
Yeah.
Because anything and everything you can find it out somewhere or other.
Yeah. So as a parent, we are on a parenting channel called Get Set Parent. And, I often find this confusion. The lines between history, mythology, fiction are all beginning to blur these days. So, when children ask you, what is the best way to explain where does mythology end? Where does fiction start? What is the exact difference between, history and what should be treated as mythology? What is the best way to answer them?
This is a problem of English actually.
Okay.
Because Purana is what we call. Purana means
Hmm.
old tales or what happened. Itihasa is it happened so. It may have
Itihasa.
happened so.
Huh.
It is not Hindi itihas like history. They're
Huh.
all this language, it has become confusing actually.
Huh.
So what we had to do is they never told this as this is like if you start considering this as historic events, it is going to create confusion. They are not. They are much beyond history.
Hmm.
History is useless if you ask me. What are you going to gain knowing who won the war in 1600 or 1500 or 2nd century BC, which king ruled? It doesn't matter. That is
Hmm.
why in our Purana they don't tell about the date. They say once upon a time it happened. The tales,
Huh.
the purpose is to introduce the kids to a world which is so fascinating. There is no black and white. Don't put your beliefs into them. They will have to come into the conclusion by themselves. That is what our tales did. They never hid anything. It is a television that they started telling that this is like this is like this, and you had because television caters to the lowest common denominator. But when you
Hmm.
tell stories, the Purana stories, tell them these are stories. Don't tell them it is history. They are not history.
Hmm.
People may get offended because people want to believe it as history, but what it does is it will take away the child's imagination if you tell it
Yeah.
is history. Because anything scientific, it doesn't have, science has a method. You mix with that, you lose science, you lose imagination, you lose both sides of the brain. It has to be clearly told. That's why when I was talking to the kids, I said logically there may not be any ghosts, but believe that because it
Yeah.
is so fascinating. Your imagination, creativity is what is more important. Because whatever logical is there, all those things will be available already available through computer.
Yeah.
What is the even our education system has gone for a 6 because of the technology. Why you need to by heart everything now? Why you need to know the dates? Everything Wikipedia, you know, Google, you know, even calculator. When I was in school, teacher used to say when we tried to get from Gulf and all, people used to bring calculators. It was a very exotic thing at that time in 90s and all. So teachers used to say, do you think you'll have always calculator in your hand? You should know the table. I cannot multiply beyond 10. But now the teacher is proved wrong. We always have the calculator in our hand and everything. You have your dictionary in your hand.
Everything.
You
Yes.
have your Wikipedia. You have your everything in your hand. So knowledge, logic has become irrelevant. Irrelevant in the sense acquiring it and keeping it in your head has become irrelevant. Knowledge is
No,
always
you're
relevant.
very right. I mean, in fact, keeping the brain of the child fertile through imagination, through the colors, the vibrancy of all of these characters
Is what is
yeah,
important.
yeah.
Why? Because see, you are going to falter if you tell that this is going to be these are historical. How will you
Hmm.
explain somebody having 10 heads?
Hmm.
The first question the
Yeah,
kid
or
will ask is
flying characters and
how
all
will
of
he
that.
sleep? He can sleep only on his back, isn't it? They will ask how if you start telling these are all historical facts. These are all great poetry, imagination. You should not kill the poetry in that. You
Hmm.
should not kill the
Hmm.
imagination in that.
Hmm.
You start telling this is a plastic surgery. The kids will ask. I as a kid,
I know they do.
they will ask questions like how will the head of an elephant fit on a 10-year-old boy? It's common sense. No, it can't fit. Even if you are the best plastic surgeon, then they will ask ethical and moral questions. They will ask what
Yes.
wrong did the elephant do to get
Yeah.
killed? What answer you will give that?
No, I know. But so in this lockdown, when Doordarshan aired Ramayana again, I have a 4-year-old son. He was aghast. He was like, but how? But how? And how is it happening? So many questions. And I think that's the starting point of curiosity and learning, when they
So
kind of,
they should know it is story. They
yeah.
should know it is imagination. Otherwise, we are going to get stuck. And they are. You tell them this is real, and then they will start comparing it with what is real in your
Yeah.
life.
Yeah.
And once they find that these don't match, they immediately will discard it. So you are doing a great disservice by saying that these are all historical facts.
Yeah.
They will read Harry Potter because they know it is not real, it is a story, and they enter into that world, and it's a fascinating world.
Yeah.
These are all much bigger stories. These are all the 5,000-year-old Harry Potter, which has been a hit over cultures and civilizations for 5,000 years because people know it is a story.
No, and kudos to authors like you for reviving these characters in a very new context to the present day generation. You know, we have got the millennials, the Gen Zs, they're so disconnected, but there is a certain magic in Indian mythology which allows for, you know, new versions to come out and new renditions to come out. So Anand sir, thank you so much for presenting it to, you know, 8-year-old children born today who are enjoying all of this so much.
Actually, if you see, the book which I have written for kids is totally different from the books which I write for adults.
Huh.
Kids, this is full of imagination. I am talking about asuras as goblins. The moment I am writing the Asura Tale of the Vanquished, they are different tribes with a historical fiction. I'm writing like that because why? As an adult, you can process. Adult, by that time, once you grow up, they know they want some explanation for what they
Yeah.
have heard.
Yeah.
I present a different version for that. Whereas for the kids, you don't serve them with logic and stories together. They don't mix.
You're right.
Childhood is to give them stories because enough fact they know through the mobile, they know through schools also they teach. Feed them with fantastic imaginative stories
Yeah.
because that is the only thing that is going to serve them. As I said, in another 5-6 years, artificial intelligence would be doing most of the things what we know now. Whatever we studied have become relevant. All of us, what we studied have become irrelevant now.
Irrelevant. Yes.
We need not store any of them. So many things we mucked up. What is the use of it? Only thing which is helping us is our imagination, the creativity.
No, that's a beautiful thought, you know, because parents and kids these days are under so much pressure, you know, on the traditional education. And sometimes we, we do it at the cost of allowing children to be imaginative, creative, curious, revel in their ideas of imagination.
One request I have to all parents is make the kids bored. Let them
Ah,
boredom. Make them 1 hour or 1.5 hours in a day. Let them be really bored because
do
boredom is
nothing.
what, creates imagination.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I want to ask you again, I'm sure everybody will enjoy this answer from you about Bahubali. Where was the seed of Bahubali? Because this is not a mythological character. How did you create it? And then what was your process of being involved in the creation of the movies of Bahubali? You know, it's gone on to create such earth-shattering records. Can you tell us about all
It's a
of that?
big teamwork. Actually, the original idea was by Mr. Vijayendra Prasad, who's a great screenwriter. He gave the seed of the idea. Rajamouli sir wrote the screenplay of it. He had read my Asura Tale of the Vanquished. He called me to be the part of the team and asked me to write the backstory. So the entire backstory I imagined. So I created around 40 characters based on it. So what I did was I drew them from mythology, I drew from our Puranas, I drew them from Indian history, various historical characters, and my skill is that I hit them. If somebody scratch it, you know which person I am meaning. So they are in plain sight, it could be found. Many from the contemporary politics also I took. I changed the names and played them in that because my books for adults are socio-political commentaries too.
Right.
So I had put that also. So stories are everywhere. You have to be quiet. They come seeking you. You have to just remove the clutter in your mind. Stories come seeking you.
And then you've gone on to create, you know, Siya Ke Ram and, you know, the Hanuman story and Chakravartin Ashok. So how was your experience writing for television? And, you know, because having written such good literature, you know, it's in fantastic language, you know, after writing all of that, you know, TV sounds like it's a very different ball game.
TV, see, I don't. I am not against TV because storytelling is storytelling.
Yeah.
Every media demands that. TV's reach is huge. TV reaches like my Asura would have sold around in 14 languages. It is just nearing 1 million copies now in 9.
Wow.
But Siya Ke Ram on a best day, 40 crore people used to watch. So that is the difference between TV and the book.
Oh my God.
How do you diss something which reaches so many people? Or Ashoka used to be worth 35 crore, 40 crores, or Hanuman. So the reach of TV is great. Only thing is that
Yes.
you will have to tell the story for you should know the audience and tell the story. That's what I said. No, when I'm telling the story for kids in this book, Asura Kids, I tell it in a different way. When I am telling for Siyakeram, I tell it in a different way. When I am doing it in the Bahubali, it's like playing T20 or Test or one day match.
Ah.
So you adapt to that. Otherwise, you are out of the field. It's a competitive field, highly competitive field. So I consider myself not as a writer, but as a storyteller. So as a storyteller, I may tell story as a book, as a television, as a film, as a puppet show, as a dance or whatever. It doesn't matter. Story is
Yeah.
important.
Sir, you are such a, I've spoken to you over the last week as well, and I've seen so many of your interviews. You're such a prolific writer. You've written like 10 books in the last 7 or 8 years. You're a columnist, you're a screenwriter, you do so much, and you're so cheerful, and you make it seem so easy. I mean, do you write for several hours a day? How do you manage so many things?
3 to 4 hours, 3 hours max a day.
Acha.
Not more than that. But I write every day.
Huh.
2 to 3 hours. Some days on a bad day around 2 hours, on a good day around 3 or 4 hours. Not more than that. Nobody can write more than that. Otherwise, you'll have to remove it next day. Even from this 4 hours, hardly 20 minutes worth will be. But actually, let me tell you what. All of us would have written more than that in your Facebook and WhatsApp. You count the words. A novel has how many words? 1 lakh words. And Asura, big novel like Asura has 1,50,000 words. Ajaya series has 3 lakh words. They're all tomes, big novels. But an average novel in the market is 50,000-60,000 words. Many of
Yeah, 65 years.
they write only 50,000-60,000 words. Mine being Purana based and Ramayana based, they're quite bigger. Some of them. Or this book is around 40,000, 40,000 words. In a day, if you count, you just count the number of WhatsApp messages you type or number of Facebook or Twitter you type. 40,000 words is what? If you write 1,000 words a day, that's an average what they say 20 people type in their WhatsApp or Facebook. In 40 days, you have a novel. So how many novels you have written?
I've never looked at it this way. Imagine how much we are writing and writing, but without focus probably.
That's the only difference. No, you are writing, you are arguing, and you are using 2 thumbs to write. With 2 thumbs, you are writing 1,000 words. With 10 fingers, can't I write 4,000 words in a day? And
Wow.
so
That is such an inspiring thought, Anand sir. Children, this is something that we all have to keep in mind. We are all writing the whole day, something or the other, and adults, we're writing more than them. But what if we added a little bit of focus, a little bit of a structure? We can also maybe attempt to create small stories by ourselves.
No, I have told many classes and all I take. I told youngsters not this small kid, but 17-year-old, 18-year-old and all. I tell them write story in WhatsApp. No, you are familiar with that. There is no rule that you have to write in a book and you have to sit in a corner with a quill and all. Nobody writes like that nowadays.
Yeah.
Technology though. If you are not able to write, record it in your WhatsApp and keep the story. Later you can type it out or you ask somebody to type it out. Ask your friends or brother.
Yeah.
Or,
so medium, irrespective of medium, what's in the mind should find a way to come out. That's a.
Just use your WhatsApp, nothing else. Just you speak for 5 minutes. Now, if you transcribe this, what we have spoken, it will be around 10,000 words.
Absolutely, yeah.
4 hours you speak, in a week you can have a story.
Yeah.
Then you will have to polish it, edit it. That's a secondary thing. But getting out the first draft is very important.
Yeah.
Just tell the story, because story is writing is a very recent phenomena. Stories have been told since even when we were monkeys, we might have told stories.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it has been told for many million years.
Yeah.
Writing,
you make it sound so easy.
there is nothing holy about writing. Writing is a recording phenomenon. It's just a record.
What are you writing these days, Anand sir? What can we expect? All the fans of Mr. Anand Neelakantan, what can we expect from you?
Bahubali book 3 is coming in December.
Oh, wow.
Date will announce soon, but it will come in December or January first week, something like that. That is the 3rd book. That series ends there. Then I have an Audible audio series on Ramayana. That is a non-fiction for adults. Seeing Ramayana from various perspectives, 300 Ramayanas, what they say, telling the Ramayana from different angles.
Interesting. Okay.
That's one. Then I am working on a film, but that will take one year perhaps. That's scripting and doing. 2 shows I am setting up for OTT platforms.
Something on Netflix you mentioned.
Netflix is Bahubali series is coming in Netflix.
Okay.
It's over. Other than that, another 2 shows I am setting up with some big directors for the OTT platform.
Okay. And for children, sir, apart from the naughty Asura tales, can we expect more for children?
This Asura books will continue. More stories I am coming up with.
Oh,
Every year
lovely.
I have one book for children.
Lovely.
I have another 7 books signed up with various publishers, and 3 of them are young adults. 1 is for children, and 3 are for normal adults.
No, I can't tell you how happy I am that such good writers like you are taking children's literature and young adult literature seriously and are coming into this area, because I meet a lot of authors who say it's much tougher to write for children than it is for adults.
Very tough, very tough. And I didn't have the courage to write for children. After 500 hours of script in television, 300 columns and 9 books I attempted.
Oh my!
I attempted the first children's book. I wanted experience to come, and even now I think I have a long way to go to write for children. Children are loving it, but that may be because of the strength of the traditional stories. But I will go into other kind of children's book also once I learn my skill. When I learn this better and I am confident enough, I'll go to other kind of children's book also, like original stories instead of adaptation from Puranas. But I'm yet to become confident.
Wow. Children, after writing so many books, Mr. Anand is still such an eager learner, and he's saying he has to learn. So, that's a lesson for all of us, that we have to stay hungry for learning, and always there's scope for improvement. So that's such a beautiful lesson for all our lovely children. And I must say, my daughter reads this book every night. We are on the 3rd or 4th tale, and she's giggling and laughing, and she's enjoying it so much. So I will urge all the parents, get hold of this copy, the very extremely most naughty Asura tales. And I am having so much fun reading it along with her. So, reading is a beautiful bonding exercise. So it's a lovely book.
Just one more thing. Get 2-3 kids, either online or if neighbors are there, 2-3 kids, and read it out aloud. Make like what I made. No, make it. See, storytelling in India always have been participatory. This is a very, through books, it's a very lonely affair. Storytelling was always participatory in India. People also will sing along, and the person telling story also will sing along. So
lovely idea. I'll definitely do that. I'll do that.
Recreate that in schools. Now it's a COVID time. Otherwise, in schools and all, they can easily do it. They can make a play out of it. Since I'm a script writer, most of these things I have written so that it will come to a play. So it can be played as stage plays also.
No, that's an excellent suggestion. And I hope even, school teachers and, teachers who run reading classes can take on this idea and, adapt it into characters. These days, we're all in lockdown. So this can be done even online. Children can get together and read out dialogues online.
So doing it, just tag me along. Say that I have done it so that I can give you some suggestions or something perhaps.
Fantastic idea. So we're all going to start doing that. Sir, as you know, we are a parenting channel, and the whole, objective of this channel was to help parents make the parenting journey, young parents who are getting into this for the first time, making it easier. We do a lot of activities, we do a lot of sessions, tips and tricks on parenting. And, it will be my absolute honor if you unveil something that we have just created for parents. So a pain point for a lot of parents is introducing their children to writing. Children between 2 and 5, they find it very difficult, to introduce them to writing. So Get Set Parent with Pallavi has launched the Brainy Box free writing skills box. So I'd love to request you to, encourage us and unveil that for us.
My pleasure, and it's a great thing you are doing. Wonderful thing. Congratulations for what you are doing. And I think it is necessary now. I know my children are now grown up. Daughter is 17, son is 14. but I know the pain. Mostly my wife took the pain, but I take great pleasure in unveiling the Get Set Parent rewriting toolbox with Pallavi.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. And, we'll take this encouragement and we will try to do more in the world of literature, art, music, and tools which will help parents. It has been such an honor and delight having you on our festival, having you to close the entire festival. And, we look forward to more fantastic books from you. I'm an avid fan and reader of all your books, and I can't wait to get my hands on more. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us.
Thank you, Visharang, thank you, Pallavi, for this, and thanks to all the kids and their parents. Keep reading.
Thank you, sir.